Right, we'll get started. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Arun Dhir, and I've got a very special guest with me today. But before I go down the path, I want to welcome all of you and thank you for taking out the time to share this. I should say this topic is really very dear to my heart, and I believe the issues and the topics that are going to be discussed today are going to be so vital that it can impact individuals from every walk of life, not just related to weight loss. And I think, the whole concept of the winning mindset is so crucial to any field, regardless of whether you are a homemaker, you are a business professional, you are a couple, you are someone who may be experiencing issues with health or financial matters. I think the mindset is the key. That's where everything starts. That's where I read somewhere that anything that was made by a human being was first a thought. And that is so true. Even this laptop through which we are communicating with each other today, this iPhone without which we can't function now, was a thought in someone's mind at some stage. Now, that being said, let us introduce our special guest for today. And I have got I can call Dee a close friend as well now, because we've spoken on a few occasions together and have had very interesting conversations. Dee Tozer is a psychologist, but she's done some amazing work in couple counseling, and she is really passionate when it comes to talking about intentions. And it is our intention that sets the course of what we are eventually going to achieve in life. And I think that's where it all starts. And there is this concept of deliberate intention that she talks about. So I welcome Dee to this webinar. Dee, thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you, Arun. That's really lovely.
Share your thoughts with our audience.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here. And as Arun said, I have been working with couples for many years, 25 to be exact. But I also have worked for 9 years with people in the weight loss and food management area. And I've had close connection with way over 250 people there for a long, long time. I was involved in an integrative nutrition course for a long time, and the psychology of eating is something I'm very passionate about as well. So that's the background. So in my mindset work, it's all about intention, as Arun has said. And part of the reason that I believe we all get caught up and we struggle with it is because there are certain words we've grown up with that have come into our vocabularies that we resist. And they block the mindset that takes us to intention and keeps us there. They take us away from it. It's like we sabotage ourselves, but we all grow up with these words, and some of those words are control. Be controlled. Some of them are, and more recently, be mindful. Well, we all actually don't have the same understanding of what mindful is. We resist certain words which trigger an emotional response in us that makes us think it's hard. So that's where I go, Arun, with this. I go down the path where we all think certain things are hard. And when we talk about mindset, winning mindset, we think of hard. So we think overwhelm and don't do it much of the time. Do you want me to continue on this vein here, Arun? Will I continue? Can't hear you. I think you've put this mic over to me.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just wanting to reduce the echo that I was getting back, so that's how I was.
Okay.
I forgot to unmute myself. But what I'm trying to get at is that I think in the current day and age, I agree, we are actually trying to specialize and do a PhD in things that probably don't matter in life. And
yes.
like, things like social media, how many likes one gets,
Oh, yes.
Post. So those are the things that drain our true potential. And that's how I look at it. That, we have to consciously protect ourselves.
We do.
I think probably it will be best, Dee, that you continue with the chain of thoughts that you
Yes.
share your thoughts with our audience.
If you want to cut in, pop your hand up, then I'll know.
Exactly. So I was going to say that anyone who wants to cut in, they can. There's a Q&A session at the end, so you would have the opportunity to ask questions. But for the moment, I'm going to just mute my audio and I'm going to mute my video too. So Dee, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So where am I going when I'm talking about what's hard? I'm saying, well, the steps that I coach everyone in is to take it down the smallest step. So I don't know if I'm on full screen anywhere, Bernadette. Can you check and see if I'm on full screen, or do I need to do that here? I can share my screen. I don't want to do that.
I think you can do that, Dee.
I can share the screen, but then I think that shows everything on my screen. It's not actually showing me in full view. So we'll leave it like this. If anybody wants to just pop something in the chat, if you can't see me, that would be great. I'll keep an eye on the chat, or Bernadette could, and then we can see if I need to change something. But I'll keep going.
Absolutely.
So what I like to say is to everyone, I encourage them to think just one step at a time. It's about a decision at a time, not a whole range of decisions. And it's not thinking, oh my goodness, I have to get from here to there. I've got a deadline. I have to do this, this, and this. Or the opposite of that is I have to avoid this, 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 and this. So when we get caught up in all of that, that's when our mindset goes off course and we get so full of it all, we'll drop it. It's our human nature, we'll pull away from that because it gets what seems too hard. So I like to say, go with one decision at a time, think of the decision, know what it is, and pay attention to it. So that one decision, for instance, if I'm going to go now and go to my local supermarket, that would be, where's my purse? Have I got it with me? Wouldn't it? Have I got my credit card? Have I got my keys? One decision at a time. I don't just suddenly go, or some people might, but I try to, and I think most of us go in a logical sequence. It says, all right, go get the keys, get in the car. If you write list, you take it. If you don't, you get by when you get there. And you know the way there, and you usually go on automatic pilot. But when we change our mindset, which is what we're really talking about here, that's not automatic pilot. So we need to say, well, all right, one step at a time. And what would that be? How would we do that? So I like to go down this path. This is my methodology, if you like. I like to coach people with the whole uplift of wind beneath the wings to give you lift off and keep you up there. And I like to do that by helping people pay attention to what Arun was saying before, to your intention. So if you're paying attention to what your intention is, that means you have to have set your intention. And that's where some people need help to set their intention. Some people don't need help at all, but I can tell you the big sports stars in the world, movie stars, well-known athletes, you know, Olympic competitors or whatever, they set an intention and then they pull everybody on board to help them stay on track. Because it's in human nature to keep our mindset as strictly focused as it needs to be to really get to a goal that we've set that's so important. Sometimes we need help. And that's been proven over and over again with every athlete, sports star, that movie star, performer, singers, musicians that you know about. I bet they've all had at least one. And when we watch the Australian Open, we see the tennis players there with sometimes 3 coaches or 2 coaches and a mentor up in the stand watching them. They might have one main coach and they've got a sub coach, then they've got somebody that looks after their food, they've got somebody else. And one of the obvious ones for that, if you ever watch the Tour de France, is most of those cyclists have 4 coaches with them on the Tour de France. They have 4 of them, because I know somebody very well who was a competitor in it for years, and they have 4 coaches. So they have one for food, one for fluid, believe it or not, one just for fluid. intake and managing the glucose in their muscles. So many things. So I like to say to people that are thinking of shifting mindset, which this is all about, to get to a winning mindset, it's okay if you get some help. And it's okay if occasionally you wobble. The winning mindset is about getting what support you need to keep yourself aligned and attuned in as direct a pathway with not too many wobbles as you can to your goal. So it's all mindset. While it seems like such an overwhelming thing, or some people think, oh, I have a stubborn mindset. Well, that's great. If you have a goal to get to and you have a stubborn mindset, that's perfect, because you will stubbornly stick to it. But if you're in a situation, in a role in business or in your home personal relationship, and you're stubborn, that may not keep you on the path in that goal, because you need to consider other people. So it depends what's going on in that stubborn mindset. But people are proud of stubborn mindsets, and that's about the only time you actually hear people say, use the actual word mindset in their everyday life. So if we come back now and we think winning mindset, what does that mean for those people who are here watching this now? A winning mindset. What are you needing to conquer? How are you going? What do you need to be winning on? Well, often that means it's something to do with a goal you want to achieve, that you've set your intention for, and then we need to be very clear on what that intention is. So if it's to be very healthy, to be fit, if it is a weight loss thing that's brought you here and you really want to know how to keep on track, stay on track and not be overwhelmed and not fall off the track, then it's about setting the right goal and with the right people helping you. And I know one of the things Arun talks about, as I do, is we've all fallen off tracks at times. We do. I've tried a lot of different things in life where I've been pretty fixed on what I wanted to do, then found I needed to get somebody to help me just to keep myself on track. Yet I know what I should be doing, but it doesn't mean I always do it either. So that brings me back to this whole concept I talk about, which is very powerful. And it's the power of deliberate intent, because that is what forms a winning mindset. It's a major component to it. To have a deliberate intention on an outcome. It's very powerful because you do things deliberately. We deliberately actually do things or do not do other things. We make deliberate choices to keep heading down that pathway and stay focused on what that goal is. And another analogy I often use, and I think I've used this before with you, Arun, is if you decide on Friday morning, get out of bed and decide to drive to Sydney, and you've only got the weekend. Well, you don't usually get in the car and drive aimlessly. We'll get in the car with, these days, our maps, whatever we're using on our device. We work out where we're going to stop, how far we can go for fuel stops. We make it as efficient as possible usually, unless you've got more than just a weekend to get there and back. And we work out what our best exit way is out of Melbourne from wherever you live and how you're going to do it most efficiently. Most of us would do that. Not saying everybody does, but most of us would. It's a semi-instinct in a way to do that. So if you then apply that back into your world now and what your winning mindset needs to be for whatever big goal you have, and that could be in getting healthier, getting fitter, the whole weight loss side of it, or in my other world, my couples repairing a relationship, whatever that is, once they've got their goal set, they know what it is, and those in-between steps are worked out, just as if you were going on a trip to Sydney. So you know where you're going to get your fuel stops. So in this instance, you know what it is you need to do to make that goal happen. So the first step in the winning mindset is to work out what your steps are. What is the outcome you want? And then come back to the steps that you need to do. And that's what happens with athletes. That's what happens at the Institute of Sport, for instance. They go there, athletes and sports people go there to have all of this teased out and get right down to the very, very minimalist detail, the tiny details of what they need to do every day on a daily routine. Stick to the routine. That is the winning mindset as I look at it. So I don't know, Arun, am I on the right track? Is this the sort of thing you're thinking of here?
Great, Dee. I think I'm listening to it very, sort of with great attention. And I think what you're sharing is amazing stuff. Something that, is so obvious, but as we've all read, whatever is easy to do is easy not to do as well.
That's so right.
That is so true. We just ignore, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. And I think what you're saying, and I'll touch upon this briefly in what I have to share with the audience, about the support side of things that you just mentioned. It is amazing how we overestimate and underestimate certain aspects of our abilities.
We do. We definitely do.
What ultimate could be. So what I'll do is, Dee, I'll get you to sort of summarize, or if you have,
Yes.
you have finished your presentation, we will sort of continue with my bit, and then we can get to Q&A, if that's
great. Excellent. Well, let me just round that off then and say that
sure.
What happens when we focus on something and we pay attention to it, and this is the next step, if you like, or the next biggest mindset part, is making it a priority. So it's what is most important on the day, every day. And I talk to a lot of people about their winning morning formula. So a winning morning formula is how you know before you go to bed at night what is the first, second, third, fourth and fifth thing you're going to do in the morning. So for instance, back a few years ago, I myself did a weight loss whole scenario and lost nearly 10 kilos over only about 3 or 4 months. And what I did the night before, because I went to gym with a personal trainer, I had to have the coach 3 days a week, which a lot of us do, but I had my gym gear on the floor by the bed. So as I woke up in my groggy 5 a.m. state, I rolled straight out, slid into that gym gear, and I was out the door, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have. So that's the deal. So that was, for me, the most important thing, because then I came home and then I followed my routine easily after that to stay on track with everything else. It was part of that mindset, which was a winner, and I loved it. And I have been able to maintain all of that now for 4.5 years or something. So, and I've stayed on with my fitness, and it's just been a magnificent change to my life because I prioritised, made important my health. So that's where I was going to finish up, Arun, was on how important is whatever it is that you are setting as your goal. If it's not important enough, then you need to make it more important, because you won't stick to it, is what we're all saying here. It's too easy if it's not important enough. It's when it's very important that you will find a way to do it. And then it's this whole morning formula that you know the night before what you're going to do when you're in your first stages of awareness in the morning, and then the day takes off and you stay focused or paying attention to your intention, which is your most important goal. So I don't know, is that enough to finish up on there, Arun?
I think that's fantastic. That was really, I should say, succinct, to the point. And I think some of the points that you've touched on, something as simple as, preparing yourself for the following day is so, so important. I remember I used to actually put my sneakers close to the bed because the temptation to just continue sleeping is so much. But you know what? The amazing thing happens is there is this term in medicine called neuroplasticity, which I'm sure you're familiar with. After about 3 or 4 weeks, you don't have to go through that pain of trying to convince yourself to get out of the bed.
No.
It's natural. It becomes your second nature. And I think that's the beauty of, how we all function, how malleable human beings are, and how amazing our wiring is. That's what I call it, inner wiring, that we can actually transform once we are well informed. So that's where I say, my sort of purpose, I should say, of my life is to help individuals get profound information that can bring about lasting transformation. So thank you, Dee. I really appreciate it. And I think,
Pleasure.
you know, you have touched upon some really amazing points. And I would say that, you know, I'm sure there will be questions. We address that towards the end. Now, I would probably say that, you know, I'm going to share, I'm going to use the assistance of a presentation that I have crafted. And I'm just going to get the audience to tell me whether they can see what I'm sharing on the screen.
Yep.
I'm assuming you can see the winning
I can.
for lasting health. Now, my take is that, you know, yes, we are all living in a world where, you know, health is really important. But I think what is important to understand is that health by itself is not achievable unless there is balance, there is harmony in our life. And we'll come to that in a moment. The I'm a surgeon. I work at Monash Medical Center, and I'm also into yoga and mindfulness coaching. I'm a certified teacher of meditation, mindfulness, and yoga, Yoga Australia. I don't practice anymore in the sense that, you know, I don't teach it, but that's my background. And why I mention this here is that I've always been fascinated by this connection of the whole mind-body connection, and how seeing multiple patients that I've seen over the last couple of decades, I get this. Dee, is it possible for you to mute your audio because I'm getting an echo back? Sorry.
I will. I'm sorry about that. I
Thank you
will
so much. Thanks a lot.
do that.
Fantastic.
Mm,
I was.
Won't do it.
Is that beautiful? Yeah. So thank you so much. So I was just hearing myself, which was kind of distracting me. The point is that, you know, over the years, I've seen so many patients, and it is amazing that the same procedures, same medications being given to certain individuals with the same problem produces different results. What is it that is different from one individual to the other? And that is what got me fascinated on this whole journey, that got me, you know, to explore, research this, which has become almost a passion of mine now. And I really love doing what I do. What I want to share with the audience in this image is that, you know, I was in the supermarket the other day, and what I found was there's this this photo of you know, this battery that we were looking for, particular type of lithium battery, and it had this use by date on it, you know. And this epiphany, or sort of this thought, crossed my mind that, gee, all of us are individuals who have got so much potential in ourselves, but we have a use by date. We all have a date by which this potential has to be used. Otherwise, it goes waste. And that was an amazing sort of, you know, realization that I think the purpose of every human being should be to live life to their full potential. It is hard to imagine going to the last day of your journey on this planet and to think that, you know, oh, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I could have done that. Believe me, my intention is, and this is what I pick up from, you know, Dee, what you're saying, is my focused, in deliberate intention is that I want to live my last day on this planet all used up. And by which I mean, I really want to live my life to my full potential, being an instrument of service to the humanity at large. Well, that's a vision I have anyways, and I'm confident one day we'll be able to realize it. Um, you know, it really begs the question, who am I and where did I come from? But I think the important thing to understand is, without making it too philosophical, is change is inevitable. Whether change happens because of chance, because of a crisis, or by a choice, change is inevitable. And we need to realize that unless and until we make a conscious decision, and as Dee, you were saying, a deliberate intention to make a choice to have that positive change in our life, rather than that continuous negative deterioration, which is the natural course. And I generally give the example of a garden to my client, a garden which is not tended tends to have weeds and everything goes haywire and all that. But if you see a beautiful garden that has got pretty flowers, amazing sort of waterfall or whatever there may be, it needs work. There needs to be an intention behind actually creating that. And that's the purpose of this. So this is something that we give to our clients who are, a part of the, whenever actually Bernie, she does the initial sort of discovery calls with our patients who are seeking to bring about that shift in their life by changing their weight, because this may be a stumbling problem that they may have been experiencing for many years. We give them this framework of success as part of the resource tools. And while health is one very key area, and I fully acknowledge that health is indeed wealth, there are other areas which are very important, which have to go in that balance. And that is happiness, your personal growth, and what is the purpose that actually you have been sent on this planet to fulfill. It's extremely important for all of us to discover our purpose, because a life which is not lived with purpose is a life that is wasted. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the first wealth is health. And given that the focus of this webinar is really around, weight, we see in our lives people who are struggling with weight because they feel it's just the whole thing around, calorie counting, which is causing the excess weight, because they are on a dietary sort of cycle going before, then after they lose weight. And then again, the weight goes up once the calorie counting process stops. It could be exercise exhaustion, as I call it. You exercise in the gym, you maybe eat. That is, and these things again I'm pointing out, they are not the only determinants of an individual's weight. And I'll come to that in a moment, that the role that mindset plays in this. Some people blame their genes. There is apparently a fat gene that has been discovered by scientists in the United States. And essentially, that is what makes you look as an individual looks, However, to counter that, there is this whole science of epigenetics which is coming up, which means that your DNA isn't really your destiny. Your nature, which is something that you acquired from your parents, and the nurturing that you give yourself, or the exposure to toxins and stress that you expose yourself, the risk of you developing disease. And one of the key things that I love to talk about, because it's such a big thing in our society now, is stress. Stress can influence our food choices. It is well known now that stress causes release of cortisol, the hormone, which is essentially something that can influence our reactions. It determines our ability to respond or to react to any situation. Imagine if you've had a bad day at work, you've had arguments with your boss and all that. You won't feel like coming home and going for the salad, would you? We always go for the comfort foods and all that. So stress really is, physical, mental. It has got various terms that we use in our society, like feeling drained, on the edge, feeling a bit hassled and a bit worked up and all that. And this is what leads us to seek help of drugs such as nicotine, such as alcohol. These are drugs because they have been legalized. That's a different matter. But the fact of the matter is that we think they are stress busters. But in the long run, they do cause a lot of harm. There is good stress and bad stress. And I won't go too much into the details of this because that's not the intention of this talk. But I think what is very crucial, what Dee said, is that it is crucial to have someone help you manage stress. It is important that you put mechanisms in place that can allow you to manage stress. And that's what is very important over here. And we'll talk about it towards the end over here. Mind, your thought process influences your health. There is more and more evidence that is coming out about it, that worry, doubt, stress, fear, and anxiety is associated with not only poor mental health, but a state of dis-ease, which is something that leads to disintegration. As one of my mentors said, we don't die, we kill ourselves. Now, that may be so pertinent, but it's a very, very relevant statement. I think it has been known for centuries, and this is the quote from Buddha, who says that all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. And if you look at our current modern day problems associated with health issues, for example, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, which is heart attacks, cancers, and obesity, the amazing thing with all of them is that they are not caused by a bug, or they're not caused because of an infection. They are all caused because of inflammation. We know this now, and that inflammation is fuel. The fuel for that inflammation is stress. You can see on this graph the trend of diseases from 1950 to 2000, and I'm only talking about 50 years, but this can be stretched really to almost 70 years now. The trends of infectious diseases, which you can see on the left side of the screen, has really gone down. We have conquered all these infectious diseases. However, problems like dementia, multiple sclerosis, and all that have really been skyrocketing. Hence, I am a firm believer that there has to be an integrative approach to health. The health, the way it is being practiced, is purely dependent on being delivered by the bigger institutions, the hospitals, when disease is actually manifested. And that, I believe, is not the right way to handle it. The right way is primary prevention before the disease takes its seed. And I think there is a huge awakening that is happening. People are getting, they are educated. They are asking this question: why is it that even after going through cancer treatments, going through a variety of toxic treatments, they still are at a high risk of the disease coming back? And in many instances, our Western medicine hasn't got the answers to the problems that we have. Hence, an integrative approach which looks after not only the mental health, the physical health of the individual, and also the emerging science of the gut microbiome comes into play. So, in order to summarize, look, as Dee said, that, we've all had our journeys, as they say, our peaks of success and our valleys of darkness. In the real sense, it's the valleys of darkness that have really made us the strong individuals that we become. And we all have to learn our lessons from this. I believe that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And it's very pertinent to keep that perspective, because that's my first P. The 5P success formula that I have to share with you is, first one is perspective. Now, if you think about it, we're so fortunate to be living in a country which has got so much abundance, whereas half of the world is living on less than $2.50 a day. We've got every reason to be grateful to be living in such an amazing country. If we change the perspective of how we look at things, as they say, the things that you look at, is that an amazing realization? Just try that next time you are having maybe a difficult discussion with your teenager, or with your spouse. Just change the perspective. The second step that I highly recommend, which I've personally used in my life on many occasions, is pause. Before you have this urge to respond to react to a situation, just pause. Give a 5-second break. There is an author by the name of Mel Robbins, and I read a book, The 5-Second Rule. Dee, I can see you smiling, so you probably know about it. And the thing is that the 5-second rule talks about that pause. Before you react to any situation, count back from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you respond. I've had this on several occasions whenever, and I'll be honest here, whenever I've had a not so pleasant discussion with my wife, I have now started using the phrase, oh, that's a very interesting opinion or a suggestion. Let's think about it, you know. So I guess we all face these situations where there is an argument. And I have always found that if you can just pause, or if you can just say, all right, instead of retorting back to the person, just say, okay, that's an interesting point of view. Let's think about it. This third step is your pharmacy. And by pharmacy, what I mean is not the drugs and the pills that you keep popping in, but your internal pharmacy, which is what I just referred to with the stress hormones, you know, cortisol. That's the third P. Cortisol is your stress hormone. All you need to do is practice some form of mind calming technique. I call it mind calming. Things like meditation or a walk in the woods or going for a chat to a friend. It doesn't have to be really I should say, just a session of meditation with someone. It could be anything that relaxes you. Because when you relax, you release hormones like serotonin, oxytocin, and these hormones are your inner pharmacy. These are your inner medications, your drugs that nature has provided you without any side effects. However, if you go overboard with stress, which produces so much cortisol, that starts to create more inflammation, which is now known to be the root of all the disease that is there in our society. The fourth step is pen and paper. And I think this is such a profound thing that I've found every time I've been in an upset situation where I have been kind of, you know, going through, as I call it, the valleys of darkness. And let's be honest here, all of us have gone through some hardships in our lives, myself included. And I think, as I just said, that when I have poured down my pain, my feelings on a paper, on a piece of clean sheet of paper, that has actually with some psychoneuromotor activity. Now that sounds like a big, very fancy word, but all it is when your brain, what you are thinking, is connected with the nerves to your hand and you are writing that down, it brings about that amazing, I should say down dump. You ease off on all this anger, resentment, whatever you are carrying in your head. And it kind of comes out, and somehow or the other, if you practice it enough, you actually get the insight or the intuition on how to handle the problem that you're facing. And the last thing is, we all need to discover our purpose. I touched upon this on the previous sort of slides that I was sharing with you. So purpose is very important. This is something that really excites you, drives you. And my one definition of finding your purpose is that it is something that you would do even if no one paid you anything for that. And that's how I say that. If you are on purpose, it will not matter to you whether you're being paid or not. So the last P, which is the most important P, which is sixth P, is practice. The more you practice, the better you get. And I think this is where what I've come across speaking to several thousands of clients that I've seen so far, I believe that every one of us needs support, ongoing support. They need some sort of a group that they can go and confide to, someone who will not judge them. And that's where it is so important to have a kind of a close-knit circle of trust that you can go to in times of need. And that is where me and Dee have discussed that we are offering this. Any one of you who is interested in joining and taking or availing of our services as a part of a 12-week health and wellness coaching program, we'd be very happy to mentor you through this process, because what we have discussed today is really less than 10% of what it is. Because as I said to you, all of us are unique. We are one of the 7 billion people on this planet, and each one of us has got unique issues. And if there's any interest or anyone would be interested in taking up this offer, we would be more than happy for you to email it to Bernadette, register your interest. We can send you some details and all of that. But what I believe is that take some action. Don't wait for your feelings to change to take action. Take the action to change, as this quote says. So I'll stop over there, and I think it's really been a delight, not only preparing for this webinar, but I think I've really, it's always a journey of self-discovery. And Dee, I'm so grateful to you for being on this webinar with us. I think we've got a long way to go in not only our own personal growth, but also to help others.
Arun, thank you very much for having me. It's been awesome, and I can't believe how much that you put into your words there are almost identical to my phrases I'm using all the time, the pause. And I've been using that long, and not because I dreamt of it, some other guru did before Mel Robbins came along, but she's put it together in her 5-second rule. And okay then, let me think about it. 25 years ago. It's interesting, isn't it? So the good things don't change is what I think that message is. It's still the same. It doesn't matter what Buddha said, however many whatevers ago, it's eons ago, still holds true today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, we all have a journey to
Yes.
take. We all have a path. I may have learned it the harder way, but you know,
I definitely did.
It was meant to be that way.
I definitely learned it the hard way. I'll mute myself again so I'm not echoing back at you.
No, not at all. So, Bernie, I would probably say that, you know, if there are any questions or anything, we'd be more than happy to take any questions. Any comments would be highly appreciated. We are recording this webinar, so those people who registered and were not in a position to make it today, we will be sending them a link. If you like, you would be, we would be more than happy for you to share this link with any of your friends. We intend on running this webinar on a regular basis, and in due course, if you found this of interest, we would really urge you to leave some comments, share the video with your friends, because at the end of the day, it is about that collective growth, and that's what allows the whole planet to be more peaceful, more harmonious, more loving, and make it a better place for the next generation. So we'd be very happy to take any questions or any comments.
So may I just suggest quickly that the chat, people wanted just to put it in the chat box. If they look at the bottom of their screen, they'll see the chat box there, and then you can unmute them if they want to say something. If you want some help with that, I could help you, but just over here, I can't share my screen, but can you see the chat box at the bottom there? Just a text box to write in if the lovely guests would like to put any words in there and put their name, and then you can go to your attendees and unmute them if they want to be.
I think, Bernie, you might be able to unmute, or if you have any people.
Yeah.
We are in Bernie's hands today. This, by the way, is the first time that we are trialing Zoom. So I think it's come out well, and without much glitches, I should say. And we've not had much breaks as well, so which is a good thing.
There's no questions.
Excellent. All right. Well, looks like we were all very clear, Dee. That is great. And look, I would thank everyone over here for taking out the time to attend. Dee, once again, our heartfelt thanks to you for sparing your time. I can see there is someone who has raised their hand. You want to unmute them, Bernie?
I can't actually unmute her because she's done it in the chat.
So can you see the chat, Bernie? Because I saw it come up, but I can't get it up.
Okay. Hold on. I've just unmuted someone. Barbara.
Yes, Barbara, you are online with us. Muted, I think.
They're unmuted.
Barbara's mic is muted.
No, because I've unmuted, so I'm. Oh, there you go. Barbara, you can talk.
Great. I would like to say to Dee and Mr. Deer, I have thoroughly enjoyed this session. I have made 4 pages of notes as you proceeded, so I won't forget all the extremely helpful suggestions and points raised. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. That was really kind words. I have known Barbara for many years, and you are you're certainly an inspiration to me, and you are an inspiration to many people. But we'll go into that on another occasion. I'm really glad you could make it to the webinar. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Looks like that is it. Thank you, everyone. And Dee, once again, thanks a lot. Bernadette, thank you so much for being our host. And
There's one more there in the chat that's come up. Diane.
oh, yeah?
Yes, just come up in chat from Diane Simeon.
Yes. Yep, hearing does comment about planning each step in using. Okay, well, that is you. Excellent. That was a comment that Diane had to give. So thank you, Diane, as well. All the best, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you again, Dee. Thanks, Bernie. Thank you, everyone.